At this moment in your life, what if you rethink everything you've been taught who you are? What if you let go of the constant self improvement and control to have everything turn out a certain way? These may be daunting questions, and in the day to day grind called life, but accessing a new, unfamiliar road and putting your car in drive may be just what is needed to help you to the next step in your life. My guest today is Daniela Sulek. Juggling life for years led Daniela to hit a wall. Her entire way of life changed when what she now calls humaning led her to developing serious illnesses while pregnant with her third child and almost cost her her life. With her play your way through life philosophy, she now helps renowned yet unfulfilled leaders move into the permanent state of ease, joy, and passion. By transcending from the conditioned human to the conditionedness of their true self, they shift into effortlessly creating by being instead of creating by doing. Let's join the conversation now. Welcome, Daniela.
Thank you for having me, Teresa.
I'm so excited you're here today. And I want to really dive into what you call humaning. And I'd like you to share with the listeners how it led you down a path of serious illness.
All right, absolutely. So the word humaning is something I came up with in my, when sharing my message. And it really is about being in the mind, being really living and being as a conditioned human who thinks that they need to survive and they need to do everything in order to survive and do a lot of action and really just fight for survival throughout their life. So the humaning is really just action, 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 go, 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 manipulating, controlling. We think it's normal. It's really the pushing and forcing through life. And so it's what 99% of population is doing and what is considered normal in our society. And it's so wrong. It's a way of life, but it's not why we came here. And that's why I'm sharing my message, because I did that. And then I realized at one point, this is not why I came here. There is no way I came here to Earth to suffer and just work. It didn't make a sense to me, even though I was so in the logic and mind. It's like, it doesn't make a sense. And that started my journey of metaphysical and literally beyond the mind experiences to understand who I am.
I'm with you 100% because I too have been that. I mean, today I'm much more relaxed about everything, but for years, especially when I had children and family and going from one thing to another and then trying to keep up with everything and everybody. And I think it's interesting too, the place we're at right now with the collective energies and where we're at as far as humans on the earth is that even in the midst of all we've been through in the last couple of years and that huge opening, there is still so much. We've now gone into a different dimension of striving, of being better than other people and being seen and heard. And it's daunting also. So how have you found for you and your clients, especially where they're at in what we've all been through and moving forward with all of that? So, cause it's pretty big, it's a big deal, that striving and that, continual pressure of I need to be seen and be on Instagram and Facebook and all these different, arenas now.
That's absolutely true. And that's such a great question. And see, everything stems from we have these two states when we can be in, and we are either in the mind state or conditioned state. And there is everything in terms of the mind, our belief system, our habits, how we see the world, all our conditioning. It's 1,000 years of conditioning. And then we have our natural state, which is very rare right now. Only few people really function in this state. And it's a high consciousness state of our true self, when we do not identify ourselves with the mind. And when I say with the mind, it's we do not identify ourselves with a personality, with who I am. I am Daniela. I am a coach. I have this race. I have this religion. I have this upbringing. I have this culture. It's something I recognize, but I'm not attached to it. So those are two different states. So we are either in the mind or ego, personality, with everything what we know about ourselves, or we are completely free. And the mind is very tricky to keep us in that illusion of the personality it has created over the years since we were born. So first phase is that we strive and force and work, and it usually looks like in a corporate environment or building a business and taking care of kids, trying controlling everything. Then the next step is when we kind of awaken, but it's kind of false awakening, but we come to this spiritual path, and now we know things, and now the mind takes the same achievement and goals, and it's like it's out there because the mind projects everything out there and creates a different kind of personality. I'm a spiritual person. I do this, I do that. I am a coach. And now we enter a different kind of realm of competition. It's still with the mind. It's still from the mind. It's still from the ego. It's still from the identity. I am not valid until I am heard, being heard. I am not valid until I am recognized. I am not valid until someone pays attention to me. It's very tricky, and people can ask, okay, so, well, but okay, you show up on Facebook or you show up. And it's not about the action. It's really, so when I work with my clients, it's really fundamental to understanding that it's not about the action, it's about your energy. When you are when we are in the mind, we are attached to the outcome. We are attached to the work we are doing. We identify with the work we are doing. We are proud of the work. We want to change people. And that's the energy of need and survival. I need to be recognized. I am this personality. And if something is wrong, I literally will not survive, quote unquote. That's the threat of the ego and the mind. And the true self, or the high consciousness, is, and the natural state is, when I'm being asked, I speak. When there is a message that needs to go through me, be expressed through me, I put it out there. But I am completely detached from that message and how the message will be taken. So when people like it, they are supposed to like it because it resonates. If they don't, they are not supposed, because they are on the part of journey when they are not resonating with the message. And that's not my job to control. So I don't need to show up every day on the social media. I don't have a plan. I live completely unstructured into, my calendar is white. Sunday morning or Sunday evening, my calendar for the really like rest of the year, there may be 2-3 events. For the next week, there is nothing. Life happens and feels it. And that is kind of complete trust. I'm not a doer of the action. I am alive and I respond to life because life knows what needs to be happening. So it's a huge difference, but it's a huge difference in energy. So looking at two people, there may be two same actions, but the energy is very different, and hence results are very different, very different.
Wow. So lately I've been all about like just being.
Yeah.
And spirits for myself has been saying, like give myself space.
Yeah.
In the midst of, I do have things, I've got interviews on Thursdays, and on this day I release things, and I have things I've got to do for online in my business. But it really, I love what you're saying, because I can resonate with that so much about just allow, and I do that, but I do have a schedule of certain things too. But having that ability to really give that space. And I feel that people are at a point right now where they're honestly like searching for this. They're searching for, how do I do this? How can I just be in the midst of life and all the craziness? And I know you have a really cool philosophy that I want to talk about now, Daniela, is you call it play your way through life. So how do you do this?
You just play your way. You just don't take life seriously. The philosophy is really how we see the world when we abandon the illusion. So when you see the reality through the illusion of the mind, life is very serious business. It is a fight for survival, right? All that conditioning. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to have money for the mortgage. I need to have money for my kids, for the school, for this vacation. And we build our life around that. We have work, we go to the work, or we have business, we do the business. We see ourselves as a separate from life. So there is this life that is given, and there is this me, and I need to fit in and kind of force and make my way through it to make something happen, and to, until the day I die, I need to control and manipulate it. When we abandon the illusion, and it's the mind, it's the ego, it's the lower consciousness. And this has nothing, when I talk about consciousness, it has nothing to do with how intelligent a person is, by the way, because I work with very smart individuals, but the high consciousness, it's very low density of fear and conditioning. So nothing to do with how smart we are. And the difference between the low consciousness of the mind and a high consciousness of our true self is that we realize that we are alive, and we don't need to do anything to survive. We are being supported. So playing our way through life is when we realize who we are. We are multidimensional energetic beings. We do not perceive ourselves as such, because the mind creates illusion of this physical reality as being real. It's an illusion, just like a rainbow. It's an illusion. If someone wants to know more about it, I just released the podcast episode where I think it's episode 10. It's called Cosmic Collision Podcast, and I explain how the reality, the illusion, is created. When we realize that it's illusion, why would we take it seriously? If you know that something doesn't exist, why would you try to control it and change it? You only do if you think that it's real. If you know it's not real, you play, and then life shows you, because it requires a trust, and the mind doesn't have a trust. So the trust comes naturally with a shift into the higher consciousness. Then literally you just play. You do what you like doing. You don't do anything you don't like doing. Anything you don't like doing, you drop. So even going back to, you mentioned your own example that your spirit encourages you to be more into being, but you still have things on your calendar. I would challenge you, and I would give you homework, if you're open to it, is look at that and just look at this and this schedule, this and this task on my calendar. From which state is it coming from? Is it coming from the state of, I really want to do it, I feel inspired, I really want to do it, and I'm completely lost in the activity when I do it? Or is it coming from, I need to do it because my coach says, because my business coach says, because internet says I should, because, well, I don't know, I was just told I need to do it. And you will see the energy, right? Like, yes. Really going back, kids are we naturally are born in high consciousness. That's our natural state. And we are then conditioned into the low consciousness, right? With all the beliefs. So look at the kids. You have a 3 or 4-year-old saying, I'm not doing that. And the mom who is already conditioned, a parent, but you should be doing that because I said so, or because the room needs to be clean. Who said? Who said? Where is the rule? Where is the rule? Show me the rule that when you come to this earth, you signed and there is the rule. And one of the rules is your room needs to be clean. What? Because what? Because then I'm a less of the person? Because then I am not valid? Because then my parents won't love me? See how we live on that. Everything is belief system. Everything is conditioning, every single thing. We, as our natural state, we are without condition. That's the unconditional love we come from. That's how as children, we are born. What does it mean, unconditioned? That we are unconditioned, that we are the unconditional love. It means that we are valid just because we are. There is nothing we need to do. We don't need to work. We don't need to prove ourselves. We don't need to show others that we know something, that we are smart, that we have certain wisdom. That's all ego. That's all mind fighting for survival. We are it. We are whole. And so if you're whole, and if you know that you're fully supporting, what do you want to do? I don't know, whatever I want to do. I just play. So playing for you, Teresa, may be different than for me. For me, it's baking. I love flowers, gardening, walking, swimming, skiing, playing with my kids, anything creative. You know what I mean? For you, it's different. But also playing means showing up on this podcast because I just love this. Mm-hmm. I'm not convincing everyone. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, this is me being without controlling or trying to achieve something. So playing, it's like there is no work. There is no, I need to do this. I do what I want to do when I need to do it.
Well, it's so funny, Daniela, because as you're talking, all I'm seeing is like layers of the onion coming off, because I know those first 7 years, which I call the cycle of feelings, is we're just pure, like you said, we're pure play, we're pure just involved. And then all the concepts and beliefs just start layering on from mom and dad, the environment, also things we brought in with us, some of those a little bit, but mostly from the people that you were here with on our having our human experience with. So whenever you bring up this topic, especially on children, I kind of get sad because I think of like when I didn't know any better, and the things that I said to my kids, and the pressure I put on, or it really makes, and there's no good or bad really. And I just did the best I could with what I had at that moment. Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing that I keep in mind for myself. It's like, even though it does give me a little bit of sadness to think about how I interacted with my kids. And I remember years ago, I looked back at a video. We took tons of videos of our kids. I think half their freaking life was on a video camera, And I remember my daughter was trying to touch the plug-in, and I was like, Danielle, no. And I remember I swatted her hand, and I was like, oh my gosh, listen to how I came across and what I said to my child. And it just, again, it's just one of those layer things of like, okay, that's just where I was at and what I experienced. And I did the best I could as a mom, as a really what I kind of call an unconscious mom. I didn't know anything about who I was as a soul, that I have guidance, that that we're all energy. I knew nothing of that. I just really kind of moved through where I was at. And that's where that's what we all do. But for the listeners of this podcast that maybe are, that are clearly awake and that are clearly at a place of understanding in a bigger variety and a bigger expansion of who they are as a soul and how to work with, especially children and really anyone in our lives, because, I'm sure we can do that to anybody, right? That's not just, trying to control our kids or trying to, put our concepts onto our children, and how it's just it's really that's a big topic, and it's really a very a deep topic that, like I said, for myself, I can feel it in my soul of, how I used to be and then how I am today. And there's still aspects of me in there, but I feel like I've grown and I've expanded, and I've definitely come into a new me. But looking back at it, it's like, oh man, you know, just that perspective of how I was as a mom, especially.
Yes, yes, and you brought up a very good point. And I want, since you started this topic, I want to explain, because there may be a lot of guilt coming with it. And I feel that guilt from you right now, and it may arise for anyone else listening to this. I was that mom. I was stressed. I was in my head, and thinking that the work is the most important, and didn't have a time for my kids and controlling them. Yes, you would be surprised, by the way. People work with fear and with anxiety and releasing stress, but as a humanity, as a humans, fear is not our main problem and main challenge. It's guilt. Mm-hmm. So I would say to everyone who has a guilt, just drop it, because while fear can be easily transformed, like 1, 2, 3, within seconds, we can transform any fear that is, or any anxiety in the moment. Guilt, to the guilt, there is unworthiness attached. Guilt is on an emotional scale is very much lower than fear. It's literally underneath. It's on the bottom. So work with your guilt. Reach out to any coach that can do that, but recognize the guilt. I'm talking to our audience and everyone who needs that, but also realizing that, and this can help to drop the guilt, is that we didn't come here with a manual. And as you said, we are souls. We are multidimensional beings, and we can perceive different realities, but also in different dimension. But we came here to this physical experience, to have experience. This is why, for example, going back to play your way through life philosophy, it's not about doing something. It's not about achieving something. It's not about getting somewhere. It's about experience. So the mind does and achieves and thrives to achieve the soul experiences. So whether I experience baking or playing with my kids or swimming or just walking, it's an experience. But I can experience also depression, and I can experience also anxiety. It's still an experience. If we are attached to that, and if we think that it's wrong and I should not be doing that, then we are stuck, and we anchor ourselves in that reality which we don't want. And in the working with in the past, I worked with women who had suicidal thoughts, depression, very, very severe anxiety, panic attack. And one thing I told them, like, feeling sad or depression is not a problem. Your perception of depression, that you should not have a depression, is a problem. The moment you relax in your sadness, you're free, you're liberated. So that's one thing. So literally look at your life because you're still going into the past. I was that mom and I did that. Past exists only on the level of mind. The same way with the future. And that's why it creates anxiety or guilt or resentment about the past when talking about the past, or anxiety about the future. So realizing, shifting into the higher consciousness and from the mind and dropping the mind, we don't go into the past, because we are not that person anymore. Why would you know what? You are not the person when you were 17 and you dated a guy and you did something, stupid, whatever we did. You would not drag it to your, I don't know, I'm 47. You know what? I wouldn't drag it here because, well, I'm not that person. Why would even, you know what I mean?
Oh, completely.
But it's the guilt. So it's all about the emotions. Just drop it. You are not that person. And that's the difference between living in the mind. We attach ourselves and we bring our whole personality, the whole ego, the whole belief system throughout our lives. And the moment we wake up, it kicks in, and the mind creates the personality, and we are back into emotions of guilt, anxiety, and all those negative emotions. As a consciousness, we wake up fully now, present. Mm-hmm. There is no, I can tell you, I can barely remember the past. Mm-hmm. I cannot tap into the emotions of past. When people ask me, well, how did it feel? I cannot, because I'm not that person anymore. Mm-hmm. So as a high consciousness, as your true self, in our natural state, we live only in the present. That's why your spirit guides want you to be more in the being, because when you are in the being, you're in the present. You're not planning for future. Back to the kids. You know, the kids, they don't plan. They can be on the playground fighting for a toy and then with someone, and the next minute they're laughing and smiling together. Mm-hmm. Adults would hold grudges for the rest of their life. Well, he did this to me. The kids don't do it because as a high consciousness, they live in a present. They cannot tap into the past. They don't drag the past into their present. They're fully so that's the only state when we actually truly live in the present. So hence being. And when you're in the present, it's, by the way, it's the most amazing and fastest way to drop the emotions, because if you're in the present, you don't think about the past and what you did with the kids and how you were not a good mom or whatever whatever we did. Because when we do that, we are in our mind and we are in the past. But in the present, you don't have those thoughts. It's a complete liberation from the mind, just being. And you live and you take any action from this state, not from the planning, not from the fixing the past. No, just from now.
Well, for what you said, I mean, I don't know about people out there, listeners, but I feel a healing from just what you said. So that really resonates with me, and what my guidance has been working on me lately with is that just being present and really just, just being in the now, because I totally resonate with that. So I was thinking about some of my listeners are younger people too, and how inspiring this can be to have this knowledge of how to shift things and how to work with, where they're at. And when they come into having kids, or when they come into relationships, or whatever it looks like for each listener, is really the key thing is having that awareness.
Yes,
I believe, because that's where it starts at, that awareness that, if that even comes in, right? Because I mean, sometimes it may not come in. People are like, it's all good. And nowadays we're at such a different resonance of energy as a collective that things are flying off the shelves every day. It's so we're not holding on to as much if we are in this state of just being and understanding where we are as an energetic being and our soul and what we're here to really work on. So that was so very inspiring, Daniela.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And when you mentioned the global events and everything, I believe that everything what is happening in the world, and you said the two different or many different kind of directions and kind of splitting prisms, those are all happening for us as a humanity to understand that what we've been doing and how we've been living and who we perceived ourselves to be for literally centuries is not working. Is not working. If it was working, we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have global warming, we wouldn't have violence, we wouldn't have viruses, we wouldn't have cancer, we wouldn't have depression, young suicide rates. We would not. So it's not working, and it's really forcing us into looking at, okay, so if that's not working, what is the truth? And this is the truth. And I believe that your listeners are those who have this resonance and who are looking for the truth. And you mentioned the younger generation. Absolutely. I have kids and I see the difference. I see the difference. I see how they perceive the world, how they don't understand people, don't understand adults. Why would they do this? And I remember I was like that as a kid. I didn't understand adults. Well, and then I was conditioned. So I'm trying. So that's fantastic. And I also, I just recently met a 26-year-old, and he had amazing spiritual experiences, and he's trying to navigate his life, his quote unquote normal life, work and school and everything, with this being and spiritual experiences and Kundalini awakening. So more and more, I think it's the rebirth. And what we need to do is to understand who we are, because there will be things happening on the planet that we need to be able to manage, and we cannot manage it the old way. We cannot manage it with action or forcing or manipulation. We have to manage it with our energy. That's how you change the world. Because as I say, first thing to my clients, when I work with them, there is no one out there. There is nothing and no one out there. Everything is a projection. It's a hologram. Why would you change hologram? You change you. And I think this is the message we need to get. We need to understand who we truly are. Then we can change the world as a humanity.
I am filled with chills, and I love what you just said, Daniela. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes. And I agree that I also believe that we are at a auspicious time on the planet, that there's no coincidences as to why there's how many people on, like, what, 8 billion people on the planet right now, are the most ever. Like, we're all here right now doing the work we're doing, showing up, and being in the right places, the right time for our soul's growth. So it's a magical time with, like you said, there will always be stuff going on the planet. This is not like, like tomorrow it's all over. No, it's constant. Like, it's up and down and up and down. And that's part of what we're here to embrace, is how to move through these things with grace and ease, and how to move through these things with more peace and more, ability to really understand who we are. And, some things you mentioned is orgasmic joy and burning passion every day. So, those kind of aspects. And that's really back to the soul essence, because I'm about, my soul is absolutely enthusiastic to be here right now. So, and how to, access the deep peace, like orgasmic joy, the burning passion, all that within me, and bringing it forth in what I do is really, is my day-to-day journey. And that's what I'm here to do.
Yes, that's so wonderful. And this is it. And you play because your soul plays. Your soul doesn't prove itself. Your soul doesn't prove its worthiness, or I need to do it. There is no end result. Or I need to publish a book. No, I don't need to publish a book. Maybe I will, or maybe I not, but I don't want to. If I don't want to, I want. You know what I mean? It's not what the world tells you. And this is the play. This is a play. Your soul wants to play any way it wants to. For someone, it's a creative artwork. For someone, it's this spiritual work and coaching. For someone, it's I don't know, just going to being an accountant. But even that can be a play and not the hard work. But that's the realization, that we need to realize the truth and see the truth, because each of us will, when we do the thing humans call dying, we will realize that, oh my gosh, it was all the play. There are these actors, and it was just all the play, right? And if we don't realize it now, we will come back. We will come back as, and we will forget again and again and again. When we realize it, we don't need to learn those lessons. So even when you said about the stuff will be happening on Earth, there may be an open contact with ET soon. Like that will be a huge one. But again, or whatever might be happening. But again, knowing that it's my world, I created. Why would I change it. I cannot change the illusion. So whatever if I created it, then I relax into it. Because if I created it, then I wanted to experience it. My mind cannot and is not capable of understanding, but my soul, my higher consciousness knows. So I will be just responding, but I can literally relax into, even violence, even the negative events happening, because the negative events are only perception of the mind, as is positive for the soul experience. From the soul perspective, it's an experience. So and the beauty is that if we do the work of clearing out our metaphysical body, where all the belief system is, or the belief systems are, the negative events will be less and less present in our life, and life is truly a bliss. There are no negative people. There is no hate. It's like you enter a different dimension, you enter a different world, and you start wondering, well, not wondering because you know better, but there are no bad people. They are just good people. Like I see all around me, just bliss, just angels in human form. I haven't seen bad stuff on the street. Like, I don't know. I'm so impressed. So it's a different perspective. It's like when you're believing the dream you're dreaming and that it's a nightmare, it will be a nightmare. You need to wake up realizing that, oh, okay, I was just dreaming it.
Yeah. And what's going on around you is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So you're clearly in that space where you're good. I mean, like, not to say, I mean, you don't have things that come up and things you're going through, because we do every day, right? Being human, but it's a reflection. Because I know people that have a lot of poo going on around them, and then they inside of them, they're not happy. They're with themselves, what they've done, and on and on and on, the layers. It's all just a reflection.
But it is a reflection, because as I said, when as our reality is a holographic projection of the mind, right? And so what it is projected. So then we need to go into the different dimension, and the one dimension higher than our physical is metaphysical dimension, and it's our metaphysical body. And as the light travels through, as the light, which we are, our consciousness, travels through the metaphysical body, it projects on the physical experience into the physical dimension what is in the metaphysical body. And this is all our belief system. So the rest of it, the pureness, ignores it. It is still there. It exists, but in the physical experience, we do not have capability to tap into that, because our frequency is lowered and expressed as what it is in our metaphysical body. So that's why I say, whatever is in your reality, you cannot change, because it's the illusion. Changing and clearing the metaphysical body will change your reality. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in my clients' lives, in my friends' life. It's natural process. That's how we were designed. That is the structure of universe. So don't fight anything. Don't fight anything, because if you fight it, you're coming up from the lower energy of the mind and literally being lost in the illusion. And in the dream, I need to change something. Why would you change a dream? Just wake up. So you need to clear the body. And how do you clear the body? Well, get out of the mind, detox the mind, just be. Don't be in the mind, just be now. That's where your power is as a consciousness. That's where you truly exist. Once you're in the past or future in your thoughts, you do not exist. You are in the illusion. You only exist in the present, in the being. And from that state, that's a very powerful state, where you move mountains. Well, you don't move mountains. The mountains just stop appearing. They are not there. You know, the body balances itself. I had clients with cancer gone, thyroid issues gone. It's our natural state. If it's our natural state, there are no illnesses, there are no ailments, there is no mental issues, there is nothing. You're just completely liberated being. You live in the 3D human world, but you have a completely different experience as the rest of the people.
Being in the now. That is a great place to end this, Daniela, because
Yes.
we've given a lot of beautiful insights and just awarenesses to the listeners today. And I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And also, let's talk about how people can work with you and what you offer through your services.
Whoever is ready will reach out to me.
In the now.
I trust that in the now. So I do not do any offers. I do not do any promotions. I'm very sparingly on social media, but people can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. But the best way to connect is to go on my website. So it's danielasulek.com. And there is a link, there is a page, Work with Daniela, and you can contact me and we can chat.
Beautiful. And I will have all that in the show notes, so no worries. Thank you again,
so
Daniela.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. And I thank again Daniela Sulek for coming on and sharing with us today. It was very inspiring. I don't know, for myself, I got a healing about just really staying in the present and being present and not be guilty about the past, not worry about the future. The present is what's important, and playing. I love that. So I hope that you all enjoyed it so much. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see future episodes, please go to the show notes and consider buying me a coffee to support this podcast. Until next week, please remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.